Well, good morning. I'm Brent Adams here with your Rural Strong Morning Ag Report for this Wednesday, January 10th. Leading off the headlines this morning, Iowa Senator Chuck Grassley sees a turbulent year ahead for the farm and spending bills. Grassley accurately predicted the last one-year extension of the Farm Bill and now says,
If we don't have a farm bill text by late spring, it's unlikely that we'll get a farm bill this year.
standing in the way, two government shutdown deadlines short of agreement on full-year spending bills, including USDA.
Well, it seems to me it'd be easy to move the January 19th one to February 2nd because the January 19th isn't going to shut down all of government, and February 2 would have that impact.
But moving the first deadline covering USDA will take legislation that Grassley fears House ultra-conservatives will block, raising the prospect of a legislative end run.
There's a feeling that since the Freedom Caucus controls the Rules Committee, that anything that's going to be done, the funding for government for the rest of the year, the whole border issue connected with Ukraine and Israel is going to have to be done through the process of two-thirds votes in the United States Senate.
And maybe the House. That despite House and Senate leaders' deal on a total top-line figure for spending bills.
Pretty certain that all these areas, not just in agriculture, but across the board, is going to come in a little bit less than what the McCarthy-Biden agreement did, but not a whole lot less.
The House defeated its earlier USDA spending bill over cuts to farm and food programs and an anti-abortion rider. Ultra-conservatives call the new top-line deal a total failure and could force Speaker Johnson to again rely on Democrat votes, which cost former Speaker McCarthy his job. Well, the Eighth Circuit Court unanimously overruled a district court and upheld Iowa's 2019 and 2021 agriculture trespass laws as constitutional this week. After several organizations challenged the new law, the district court concluded that the intent requirement renders the law viewpoint-based and unconstitutional under the First Amendment. In the ruling, the Eighth Circuit Court said we respectfully disagree and therefore reverse. The lawsuit was filed by groups including the Animal Legal Defense Fund and the Center for Food Safety, among others. Iowa Agriculture Secretary Mike Naig responded by saying that the legislature and Governor Reynolds enacted the laws to safeguard the ag community and protect food security. He said it's welcome news to Iowa producers that they can now be protected from trespassers, and it sends a clear message to those who maliciously target livestock farms. Critics describe the laws as ag-gag laws seeking to criminalize efforts to access and secretly record alleged animal abuse on farms. Well, preparing for the calving season is a critical aspect of beef cattle management. Dr. Brett Terhar, beef technical consultant for Elanco Animal Health, says you can never prepare too much or too early for calving.
If we need to change direction, especially on nutrition, we need to think about that 60 to 90 days ahead of calving. So generally, I recommend people make an honest evaluation of the body condition score of their animals ahead of that third trimester. A good practice would be to go out and look at the first 20 animals that you see in the group and write down each of their body condition scores. And want to see is a 6 to 6.5 body condition score for heifers and 5.5 to 6 for cows. Evaluating that 60 to 90 days prior to calving gives us time to add a little weight to those cows if we need to. It is really difficult to change course on body condition score after calving. Having animals in the correct body condition score sets us up to have healthy calves on the ground right now and has a great impact on our fertility, which will impact our next year's calf crop.
He talks about the steps producers can take to set cows up for a successful calving season.
There are two things that I really pay attention to when we're getting ready for the calving season. One is nutritional management and management of vaccine. When we look at nutrition, we want to make sure that is a balanced ration. You can work with a nutritionist or your local feed store. We want to make sure that we have adequate protein and energy going into the calving season. That has an effect on live calf birth weights. It has an effect on colostrum, quantity and quality. The other thing is the use of vaccination, and that's important in that it can change the quantity and the quality of the colostrum. Doing that at the proper time is also important. We want to be in that 8 to 10 weeks prior to calving range of time when we would apply the vaccine to the cows or heifers.
To learn more about how to keep your cattle one step ahead, talk with Elanco Animal Health representative or visit farmanimal.elanco.com. Well, a top USDA official says there are 4 steps USDA needs to take to enhance farmers' use of conservation programs. More from USDA Radio's Gary Crawford.
The Agriculture Department is investing record amounts of money into conservation and climate change programs.
There are 4 things that we really need to work on as we move those investments forward.
Undersecretary of Agriculture Robert Bonney telling a conference in Des Moines Tuesday that first thing,
we need to make sure we have the right practices, that we're being sensitive to what producers need on the ground.
And physically able to deliver those needed programs, and so
we're going to hire some new staff. We've got new resources. We're going to need to be able to have some additional people to work in partnership with farmers and ranchers and forest owners to get it out there.
But Bonney says it will take more than just USDA people to do it.
We're looking for ways to partner with states, with conservation groups, with commodity groups, with conservation districts and others on the ground to help us implement these programs.
And finally, Bonney says the whole farm program process needs streamlining.
We've got to do a better job of making it easier for producers to get into our conservation programs.
He said reducing red tape's a goal running through all USDA programs, not just conservation. Gary Crawford for the U.S. Department of Agriculture.
And finally this morning, the first blast of Arctic air is expected to enter the nation over the weekend, bringing with it sub-zero temperatures in some locales. Here with the details is USDA Radio's Rod Bain.
It has been a mild winter to date for most of the nation, yet USDA meteorologist Brad Rippey says a shift has occurred in recent days.
We have seen a pivoting of the bitter cold into western North America. There's actually a very cold air mass that is banked across western Canada into eastern Alaska, and that is going to continue to rotate southward.
And thanks to a series of active weather systems passing across the nation this week, more of that cold air will be drawn down into the U.S.
So by the time we get through storm number 3, late this week and into the weekend, we're going to see some bona fide Arctic air making its way into the United States for the first time this winter.
As places like the Dakotas and Montana go from record-setting December warmth to sub-zero temperatures this weekend.
We could see temperatures dipping below minus 30 degrees Fahrenheit across parts of the northern high plains.
I'm Rod Bain reporting for the U.S. Department of Agriculture in Washington, D.C.
Well, you can keep up with the latest from the world of agriculture by subscribing to the Tractors and Troubadours podcast from Rural Strong Media. Each week, I bring you agriculture industry newsmakers, hot-button industry issues, educational features, and the best in traditional country music. The Tractors and Troubadours podcast can be found at ruralstrongmedia.com or wherever you get your podcasts. We also invite you to join us daily on Rural Strong Radio, our 24/7 streaming radio station found at ruralstrongmedia.com or on the Live 365 streaming radio app for your mobile device. Each day, we bring you our award-winning agriculture programming, as well as the best in traditional country music, mixed in with a little bluegrass, western swing, southern rock, and inspirational music. Again, the place to find Rural Strong Radio is ruralstrongmedia.com or the Live 365 streaming radio app. We're portable, so take us with you everywhere you go while you're working on the farm or ranch. Let's get through the workday together. Well, I'll be back again tomorrow with another Rural Strong Morning Ag Report here on Steve Shetler Media. Make it a great day, everybody.